Hi, this is Mark Shaw, Green Sefton Service Manager, and this presentation runs through the service review undertaken for 2023. It's accompanied by a more detailed report which was presented to the Overview and Scrutiny Regeneration and Skills Committee on the 7th of November. Similar format to previous years. I'll run through this as some of the highlights to give you a bit of a flavour, and by all means have a look at the reports for more detail. So, Green Sefton, main service that looks after land within the borough, largely anything green and growing. I always say the coast, the parks, the outdoor sport and recreation, allotments, trees and woodlands, so on and so forth. Lots more detail available on our internet. So we've done this structure before. We'll look at what we've achieved in 2023, and then a look ahead to 2024. So in this year, we've undertaken a major consultation for Botanic Gardens, supported by a pre-development bid from the Heritage Lottery. That's just about concluded now, and we'll be reporting back to Cabinet Member on the outcome of that shortly. We've also adopted the Orrell Park Master Plan following pretty significant consultation on that one last year, which gives us a vision for the future of that site, and we're talking about further improvements for that coming forward. We continue to work in partnership with others. We've got a very strong volunteer sector, always keen to develop that. And we've also done quite a bit of work with corporate bodies as well. That image there is Network Rail from an activity they took at Coronation Park in the autumn. We've delivered the Parks Levelling Up scheme. This was central government monies for two parks, Poets Park in Bootle and Seaforth Green, as it's now known. Infrastructure improvements, but also campaign work done. We commissioned Keep Britain Tidy to support us in addressing fly tipping and littering issues at both of those sites. So that's been a successful scheme. We delivered our Coast Visitor Action Plan. Obviously the coast is very popular over the summer months. We do a lot of work with other landowners, and our partners are together with the emergency services as well to welcome our visitors, but also discourage inappropriate behaviour. So that's been a good success this year, as always. In Bloom, the In Bloom campaign, we coordinate that. It goes beyond the Green Sefton portfolio. We've had one of our most successful years ever this year, all 5 town entries achieving gold. Particular success and highlight would be Bootle, which has improved since a silver from last year and got a special award for that. And we had many neighbourhood entries as well, so led by the community as well. So that's a really great example of community working with the public sector and other partners to really improve their local environment. We enacted our Coast PSPO this year. That was developed last year. That again is about trying to manage visitor behaviour and coordinating with other landowners and the emergency services as well. We continue to contribute to our climate change working group. Obviously landscape has an important role within that, so that's an ongoing piece of work. And in terms of climate, we do see more and more named weather systems coming through. You know, the effects of climate change are undeniable now. You know, we see more and more of incidents. And sort of slight aside, but kind of related, is the bird flu epidemic that flared up in the summer as well. That caused us some concerns and issues on the coast and some other areas of how to deal with that. We have successfully bid for some external funds. There's always more out there. We do have limited time and capacity, but we have developed some improvement projects, both infrastructure and service-wide projects across the service this year as well. One of which would be the Hesketh Park Legacy Scheme. This was a couple that passed away that lived close by to the park, and in their will they left a substantial sum of money for improvements in the park. So we've been liaising with those trustees for a little while now, and we did some consultation in last year, 18 months or so ago. And the scheme was approved by Cabinet in May of 2023 for an £850,000 improvement into the park, which is a huge sum. It's absolutely fantastic, but it won't transform the whole park, but it'll hopefully be a catalyst for further improvements. So it's quite exciting, that one, that's now moving. We've developed our concessions, continue to do those over this year, and I suppose the key highlight one, the biggest new one would be bringing back into use the White House Cafe at Southport Golf Course, which has been out of use for 10 odd years now. So it's a brilliant facility for golfers to have something to eat or drink before or after a round of golf, but it's also open basically as a bistro and a food and an eatery for non-golfers as well. So that's really great to see that building back into use. Overall, as an overview, one of the things we wanted to do this year, because Green Sefton is now 5 years old, is refresh our service vision, um, which we did. We discussed that with the overview and scrutiny last year. We've had some staff sessions. We've spoken to some of our partners, thinking about where we're at and where we're trying to get to. And we adopted that new service vision with cabinet member approval in April of this year. And that then led to the service plan of how we're actually going to deliver on that vision. That was adopted in the autumn, in October as well. So that's a quick skim through of 2023. Looking ahead to 2024, we're going to develop some new further funding bids. The Botanic Gardens one, now that we'll have sort of agreed the scale and scope of a pretty major scheme of investment that's needed up there, we'll be looking to start placing some bids in 2024 and beyond, possibly having to phase our ambition. It'll just depend on the match funding that we can find and working with partners and the community to enable that. We'll deliver some of our schemes. I think a key one's going to be the Crosby Coastal Defence Works, which is a major scheme, which we're still waiting on the funding for the overall thing to come together, which won't be till probably something like 2027. But we've got some funds for interim works where the council's matched some monies with United Utilities. So hopefully those will be taking place in 2024. As a team, we're very stretched. There's not enough of us really to be able to achieve the quality on the ground in terms of day-to-day operations as maybe we would like. And we're constantly looking at opportunities to increase our staffing capacity, bring in apprenticeships, thinking about succession planning, and the training and the development of the workforce. So that's obviously something that's always ongoing. We're going to, in 2024, we're actually out to tender at the moment for replacement of our equipment and machinery. It's obviously absolutely key to our operations to be able to have the mowers and the specialist equipment that we need. So those orders will be placed as soon as we can in 2024, and with lead-in times it might take some time, but we'll start seeing those things on the ground and enable us to be able to operate as we would want. Some strategies that have been in development for a little while now, the tree strategy, allotment strategy, nature conservation strategies, they're all things that we'd like to sort of see get over the line in 2024. It feels like they're nearly there now, so that's a plan for next year. And I think when I talk about nature conservation, we always add this one in about nurturing nature. I think as the mainland management service, we need to be the voice of nature in everything that we do. The 4 coastal gateways, that was a key outcome of the coast plan, was to develop those and understand the ambition for each of those. We've done some work, we're working with partners, and that will continue to develop. That ties in with the work of the Sefton Coast Landscape Partnership Board, that's SCLP on the box there. Working with partners, looking at their priorities, our priorities. There's a lot going on nationally in the world of environment right now, so there's a very active agenda for that board. So we'll continue playing a very key role in that one. Knowing that we've got limited resources in terms of staffing and funding and ability to undertake works on the ground, something that we're keen to do it by next spring is try and better communicate the standards that we're able to provide to at the moment. So that's a key piece of work we're going to be doing by next spring, probably starting with the inland grounds maintenance works, but being honest with our communities about well, this is the standard we're able to achieve. It might not be what everybody might want to see, but we are restricted with the resources that we have available. So that'll be a key one for us next year, as we'll develop in this sort of strategic vision for our places in the future, which is very much tied with what standards we can achieve. So that's something for next year as well. And when I mentioned earlier about nationally, a lot of things moving around at the moment, I think there's some changes to our landscape management, where all this sort of ties together. BNG is Biodiversity Net Gain, that came out of the Environment Act, adopted nationally a couple of years ago. links with some of the Liverpool City region work. There's Trees for Climate funding, working with colleagues in the Mersey Forest and others. We're working with the Merseyside Environmental Advisory Service and you know, a lot of partners, a lot of things going on. Really quite exciting time for this area of industry, so lots to look out for. And then tying back to our service vision and the service plan is something we need to do over the next few months, is update our key performance indicators so that we do track our performance. Those little graphs there that are samples taken from almost like pre-pandemic times, and now that we're refreshing now, it seems appropriate to sort of make sure that we track things as we should do. And then the last one I'll put on here is about climate change. You know, it needs to be, and we've put it in graphically, a golden thread through everything that we do. And colleagues in the team are still contributing to a corporate group, and you know, we're trying to sort of think ahead to, once we've reduced our carbon footprint as low as we can, landscape really needs to come in terms of adapting to inevitable changes, but also contributing to the agenda as well in terms of carbon offsetting and thinking about yeah, that side of things as well. So that's a quick review as the sort of that single slide. The couple of things that I'll maybe highlight: the new service vision, like I say, is contained in the report. The main thrust of the change there, I think, there's some tweaks and shifts and things that came through the consultation and discussion, but I think the main shift in our focus and direction, we were being quite ambitious and looking at growth and developing income to then reinvest in the landscape. And whilst that's absolutely, you know, a great ambition, I think at the moment we don't really have resource to do that thoroughly and properly. So what we've agreed is actually we're going to consolidate and pull back to just the basics right now. And that's when I've sort of talked a moment ago about developing management plans, looking back at the basics of our sites. What are we actually here to provide? You know, how's the standards going with that right now, and sort of get those things in place. And then in time, maybe we might sort of look outwardsly and towards growth again. But that's the service vision as was adopted, which feeds through to, again, within the report, is this is our sort of overall work programme. Top right are the things that are most important, most urgent. The amber squares are the things that, you know, we're trying to prepare for and see come through. And then bottom left are some of those things that, you know, we're having to sort of phase and be realistic over our capacity, and some things are literally just on hold right now. And to be fair, there's a lot more than just on this, but it's some of the headlines, and it's something that I report to cabinet member frequently to constantly sort of revisit what our priorities are and shape them. So that's it. Then that's everything that I wanted to say at this stage. Our contact details are on the middle there. There's the website and our generic email address. I hope you found that interesting. There's a lot more detail in the documents. By all means, contact us with any queries. I hope you found that good, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you for listening.